Streaming 24/7.
24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika nakupenda sana. Oh. From 4 o'clock up until 5 o'clock. Thank you for joining us. If you are listening to us via the Bold Moves radio streaming, you are invited to be part of this conversation by sending through your comments, your questions on 081 358 8745. The number is 081 358 8745. You are welcome to participate in this conversation by sending through WhatsApps to that number. If you have joined us via the Bold Moves Radio social media pages, please be part of the conversation by sending through your comments and your questions on the comment section. If you have not yet followed us, please go ahead and follow us as Bold Moves Radio, because we bring to you a number of shows throughout the week that empowers us. As Prudent woman, we say we spark conversations, and we're excited this afternoon to have you with us. This is the month of October, and as we all know, the month of October, we commemorate breast cancer awareness. As a nation, we've taken it upon ourselves to create awareness around breast cancer. And this afternoon, I am not alone, but I have with me Dr. Tshegofatso. She's a guy. She was here with us even in the previous weeks. We are excited to have her joining us again to continue and empower us, because as Prudent woman, we say we want to take intentional decisions that are informed by information that we have, so that we can loved ones as well as ourselves and improve the quality of life. And as we always know, when it comes to our medical professionals, they always tell us prevention, of course, is better than cure, but early detection, it's also a positive thing that will help us to beat whatever medical condition that we have. And that's why we're having this conversation this afternoon, so that we can understand what is this breast cancer. Even as we understand that this year, for breast cancer awareness, they say no one should face breast cancer alone. So even if you may not go through it, but there is someone that is closer to you. When I was going through the preparations for this session, I realized that in terms of the numbers of people who have passed on through breast cancer, through cervical cancer, through any kind of cancer, the number is so huge, which made me to think that in some way or another, each one of us will have come across this deadly disease. In some way, we know someone who has passed on through cancer, or we know someone who was able to beat this cancer. And it's very important for all of us to be empowered, to have knowledge on how to manage this kind of diseases. That's why we have to learn from you. And we are excited to have you joining us. As we always say, when you have got a busy schedule, but for you to take time to come and educate us, as my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And as Prudent woman, we say we want to be informed in all areas of our lives. That's why we have this conversation. Welcome to Bold Moves Radio. As you greet the audience, maybe take us through why is it important for us to have a month where we reflect back, create awareness around breast cancer and around cervical cancer. Dr. Tshegofatso, you are muted. Please Unmute.
Sorry. Good afternoon.
You are muted. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon to the listeners and the viewers of Prudent Women. I am Dr. Tshegofatso. I'm a gynecologist. And yes, it's important to have awareness months. The reason why it's important is because it allows us to reflect on how we are doing in the prevention and the management of the condition, and to also raise awareness, focused awareness, because there's a whole lot of things that we need to talk about on a daily basis. But if we don't dedicate time to talk about the common conditions or the public health conditions, we'll end up missing a lot on them. So now, this month, when somebody sees pink, when they see pink ribbons, when they open TVs, radios, they hear somebody talk about breast cancer, you start to even start touching your breast, to check if is there anything going on there. So it's important to have this month whereby we focus on them. And I'm sure one is wondering, why breast cancer? Why not ovarian cancer? Why not lung cancer? It's because breast cancer is the commonest cancer in women in South Africa and also in the world. So it's the number one. And then cervical cancer is number two. That's why nowadays we actually, if you check a lot of campaigns, they are sort of like coupling them. They're not talking about one, because they are the top two commonest cancers in South Africa. So it's very important to have a month where we talk about it. For cervical cancer, the month is January. But when we talk about the breast, we also take an opportunity to talk about the cervix as well.
Mm. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Tshegofatso. And you cutting at some point. Yeah, but I see now you are back. Thank you very much. Yes, as you have said, we will be talking around breast cancer and cervical cancer. As we start this conversation, I know it may not be that simple to describe what these cancers are, but just something to a layman so that we can understand what is it that we're talking about. How can you describe breast cancer and cervical cancer?
Okay, I'm gonna try to describe the basics in the simplest way possible. So I'm gonna give an example with a house, okay? So when you want to build a house, firstly, you need to have sand and cement, and you make bricks. So the sand and cement, you can call them cells. And then if you put together the sand and cement, you're gonna make bricks, okay? And then when you translate it to the body, it's tissues.
Yeah.
If you put together the bricks and then you make walls, okay? And then when you put together the walls, they make rooms where you can decide this is the bedroom, this is the kitchen, this is the bathroom. So those, when you translate it to the body, is like organs. You have the cardiovascular, you have the reproductive organs, you have the breast. So as you know, for different types of rooms in the kitchen, you may put different tiles as compared to the bathroom, and different tiles as compared to the bedroom. So that's how our bodies are built. So we have very small structures called cells that are almost equivalent to the sand. So what happens in cancer is that as you grow older, or as you get exposed to certain things like infections, like you're smoking, those small cells can change and become abnormal. And then when they are abnormal, they start growing, and then they start growing uncontrollably. When they grow uncontrollably, that's what we call cancer. So now they start taking space and even destroying the normal ones, taking up all the nutrients in the body, all the blood, all the oxygen in the body, using them up. And because they are abnormal cells, they use up a lot of body's nutrients and energy than the normal cells. So that results in this cancer growing. And if you don't pick them up early, and then they start growing, they can start in one system. For example, it can start in the breast and can end up spreading and going to the lungs, to the brain, can go to other parts of the body. So that is cancer. Cancer is just abnormal, is uncontrollable growth of abnormal cells. And there are things that can uh, make one to have abnormal cells. For example, in breast cancer, things like smoking, they put you at risk for breast cancer. Genetics, if you have the genes, genetically at home, you have the genes that predisposes you to breast cancer, yeah, you can have breast cancer as well. That's why it's always important to know when family members have died, what happened, because it may actually have an impact on you. As you grow older, the cells also get old. They start becoming malfunctional. They start growing abnormally, and they start growing uncontrollably. So cancer can just happen because you're getting older. So those are the things. Some of the things like radiation, like if you work in an environment where you are exposed to a lot of X-rays without protection, you can end up developing cancers. When we come to breast cancer, there are additional risk factors such as infections like HPV, which is human papilloma virus. So it's a sexually transmitted infection that over years, over time, it start changing the cells or destroying the cells in the cervix and then making them cancerous. So if you don't pick up the changes or the HPV early, you can end up having cancer. So that is, I don't know, the layman's explanation for cervical cancer
Yeah.
and breast cancer.
Yeah. Th- Thank you. Yes, and it helps us to understand because we all grow up hearing that is cancer and just hear that is deadly, is deadly.
Yeah.
And for the longest of time, one does not even know what is it that one can do to minimize the risk of having this type of cancers because of not knowing such things that you're talking about. Uh, for the longest of time, from where I come from, we thought cancer you will suffer from cancer if genetically you have someone within your bloodline who has suffered from cancer. So the things that we were talking about, like exposure to radiation and all that, one did not know about them. But I would like to believe this afternoon, that's why we're having this conversation, Prudent Women, so that we can and understand and be able to go out and look for more information because we say we spark conversations. You cannot look for information that you do not know that exists. But when we have these conversations, it's upon each and every one of us to go out and make research to know more about these issues. Because the 1 hour that we have within Prudent Woman, of course, it's not enough. But as we spark conversations, I would like to believe you're going to make your own research afterwards and get to know all of this because this is just an awareness. Doc, I heard you when you were talking about, in your opinion, to say we're talking about breast cancer and cervical cancer because they are more common. So whenever we talk about one, we talk about the other one as well. But I would like to find out, seeing that these are more, say cervix, but as we continue, I'd like to believe we will dwell more into it. But are they related? Does it happen that because of breast cancer, I am from cervical cancer?
They are not really related, but
No?
however, there are few cases whereby they have
Mm.
reported patients having both breast cancer and cervical cancer. And that could be due to simply
Yes,
having
Doc, I think, yeah, we're missing you there. Your network is not fully stable. Maybe switch off your camera and let's just have your voice and hear if it will work. You can go ahead.
Okay.
Hello?
As I was saying, um, there are cases that have been reported whereby patients had both breast cancer and cervical cancer, not because maybe they are linked, but because you may be having risk factors for both. Like, for example, if you're smoking exposes you to both breast cancer and cervical cancer, lung cancer, all sorts of conditions. So they are not, it doesn't mean if you have cervical cancer, you're going to necessarily get breast cancer. But if you have risk factors for both, you can still have the conditions, both of them, at the same time. It does not happen often, it's rare, but it has happened.
Thank you very much. If you have just joined us, we are having a conversation. Thank you very much. If you have just joined us, we are having a conversation with Dr. Chihu. We are talking about breast cancer and cervical cancer. Thank you for joining us. As we continue with the conversation, we're going to go now to talk about the different genders who are prone to this type of cancers, because listening to the name, doc, it's like it only happens to women, because we tend to think they're the only ones who have got a breast. But I would like us to go on an ad break. When we come back, we will talk on which genders and at what age you are more prone to having this type of cancers. Let us go on an ad break. You are listening to Bold Moves Radio. The show is Prudent Woman with myself. I'm Rhulani Baloyi. I am your host. This afternoon, we are talking about breast cancer and cervical cancer, even as we pause and create awareness on breast cancer, because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And this year's theme, it's no one should face breast cancer alone. Thank you for joining us, because we believe even if you're not suffering or you may not suffer from this cancer, but you will be able to provide support to the person next to you as long as you are empowered. Thank you very much, Doc. You have taken us through what these two cancers are and what may is the risk of one suffering from these cancers. But as I said, when you listen to the name of these two cancers, it's like only women are prone to having this cancer. Is that correct for one to assume it only affects women?
Okay. Breast does not affect women only. It can affect males, however, it's more common in females. And then when it comes to cervical cancer, and unfortunately, men don't have the cervix. It's on the womb. Cervix is a part of the womb, so they don't have that part. So they do not get cervical cancer. However, the same HPV, remember, I said it's a sexually transmitted infection. So if it gets infected to a male, if you are doing things like oral sex, anal sex, they can get anal cancer, they can get oropharyngeal cancer. So they are still at risk of suffering the consequences of the HPV infection that you get in cervical cancer. So it's not just common in females. Males can also suffer the consequences of HPV, and they can also get breast cancer if also genetically predisposed.
Maybe, Doc, this HPV keeps on coming in as you continue to talk to us. And I would want us just to pause, look at it. What is this HPV? And more especially because you say anyone who's sexually active may have this HPV. What is it, and how can one make sure that they minimize the impact of this HPV?
Okay, so HPV is human papilloma virus. It's a sexually transmitted infection. It can cause cancer. It has different subtypes. I think the types go beyond 60. There are different subtypes. And some subtypes can cause cancer. Some cause genital warts. I don't know if people are familiar with genital warts, but it's those growths that you get around your vagina. You can get them in a lot of places around your vagina. They grow and they become, if they grow large enough, they start looking like cauliflower. And sometimes they are uncomfortable, they bleed, they can even smell. So they take down confidence, you start not enjoying your sexual activities. And then you have subtypes that cause cervical cancer. The cancerous ones is type 16 and 18. Those are the ones that cause about 70% of cervical cancers. So this HPVs, like I said, is sexually transmitted. So what it has been noted is that those that start having sex early, like in teen years, they can end up having cancer if they acquire them early. Those that have multiple sexual partners, they are at risk of having this HPV that can lead to cervical cancer or genital warts. And then those that don't have protected sex, they don't use condoms, they can have this HPV as well. So anything that leads you, that can make you get all the other STIs, they can make you get HPV. And the sad thing about HPV is that you don't see the effects of it immediately. The warts don't grow instantly. The cervical cancer don't happen instantly, but it's over years. So you may find that you go today and then we do HPV testing. We find that you're HPV positive for the oncogenic subtypes or whatnot, and you want to blame your current partner, and it may not necessarily be from him. It may be from maybe your partner or your ex from your teen years. So the effects of it takes long to show. That's the thing about cervical cancer. But the good thing is that it's now there are now vaccines out there that can help prevent this HPV.
Okay. So there's not much in terms of medication that one can take in order to minimize one suffering from this HPV, or because whenever we go to a doctor, all we are hoping for is to be given some sort of medication to either minimize or manage the impact of whatever that we are facing.
Yeah. So now we have HPV vaccine, and the vaccine is made to prevent the oncogenic types. So it's vaccine against this type 16 and 18, that those are the ones that cause about 70% of the cervical cancers. And also the vaccine, there are two types, there's Gardasil and Cervarix. So if you get Gardasil, can even also prevent type 6 and 11, which are the types that cause genital warts. So girls and boys, not just girls, only girls and boys now can get this vaccine from the age of 9 to 12 years. Most of the time, nurses, they go to the schools and then they give these vaccines. So now I know we come from COVID, whereby people are still uneasy about vaccines, when somebody wants to administer vaccines, they say you want to put a chip and whatnot. So please do not deny your kids this vaccine because it will save them in the long run. I know right now, because you can't see HPV with your bare eyes, you may not see the effects of it. Unless if you have somebody suffering from cervical cancer in your family and you are seeing how they are struggling with it, maybe you may be receptible to it, but it will save them in few years' time. So children 9 to 12, please make sure that they get it. If you have a 9-year-old or 12-year-old, please inquire at the school if they've ever been given this HPV vaccine. If they've not been given, please take them to a health facility or clinic or a doctor to get this vaccine if they've not received it. Just it's important to verify that they've not received it. And those that probably are in that early 20s, like 25, 26, and they don't remember ever getting vaccine at school around the age of 9 and 12, you can still catch up, go to your health facility and request this vaccine so that it may actually protect you if you have not yet gotten the virus.
Mm. So at what age will you say I can no longer get that vaccine? Or anyone can go and get it as long as you know that you have not had an opportunity to have it?
Okay, so right now the age is 9 to 12 because research has shown most kids are sexually active around the age of 13 and upwards. So we try to get them, some actually as early as 12. We try to get them before they become sexually active, because once they get the virus, then the vaccine becomes pointless. You need to give it before they get it. So there is what do you call it? They say you can still catch up. Like for those that know they've not been sexually active and all that, the vaccine may still work. And then some will have been sexually active, but have not contracted the HPV. So you are still sort of like safe to get the vaccine. But usually after the age of 26, most people are already sexually active. Some would have probably contracted it. And there are different subtypes. Like I said, they can go up to 60 different types, and some also still cause cancer, but they do not cause cancer as common as the 16 and 18. And some of them, they actually get cleared up. So if you contracted early, later on in life, they can be cleared up. That's why they say the screening age for cervical cancer is 25 years. So once you're 25, then you can start doing your pap smear. Because if there was some HPV that you contracted early on in life, sometimes it gets cleared so that you don't end up being overtreated. So 25 is the age to start doing your pap smears. And then as for breast cancer, um, breast cancer, uh, how you detect it is by self breasts. You can do breast examinations. You can do it yourself. You can do it at home at any age. The reason why we say at any age is the more you do it, the more you get familiar with your breast, and you'll be able to pick up the changes in the breast quicker than if you are not doing the breast exams. So the sooner you start, you get to know, very familiar with your breast, and then get to pick up the changes quickly. And then when you pick up something, if you're not sure, when you go to your doctor, they do examination and see if there are any lumps, and if they find lumps, are the lumps likely to be cancerous or not. Otherwise, if you don't find anything, your breast still looks the same, then you can, once you hit the age of 40, you can start going for your mammogram if funds allow. But don't go beyond the age of it. Once you hit 50s, you need to start going for your mammogram regularly so that you check. Because breast cancer is usually found in patients that are above the age of 50. But from the age of 40, you can start going for your mammograms, to try to check if there are any lumps. Yeah. So by the age 50, because that is the commonest age where people get these cancers, it's mandatory that you go and go check your breast using a mammogram. So how do we pick up cervical cancer? Is if you do pap smears. And I can tell you pap smear is such a quick exam, it's such a quick exam that you can just do once a year. So, and that can save you many days of your life.
Thank you, Doc. If you have just joined us, this is Bold Moves Radio. The show is Prudent Woman. We are talking about breast cancer and cervical cancer with Dr. Tshegofatso. We are creating awareness. And if you have just joined us, you are welcome. Send through your questions, your comments on the two cancers, that anything that you like to know, or anything that you want to add to this conversation. Dr. Tshegofatso, thank you. We'll get back. I wish for us to go on an ad break. We'll be right back with you.
Streaming 24/7. 24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika, nakupenda sana. Oh, Afrika, nakupenda sana.
You are listening to Bold Moves Radio. The show is Prudent Woman with myself. I'm Rhulani Baloyi. I am your host this afternoon. We have with us Dr. Tshegofatso. We are talking about breast cancer and cervical cancer. She has taken us through what these two cancers are all about and what is it that one can do in order to minimize the chances of one having these two deadly cancers. Thank you, Dr. Tshegofatso. Before we went on an ad break, you took us through the fact that not only women are prone to this cancer, more especially breast cancer, but cervical cancer, you indicated to us that men can suffer from other types of cancers which are caused by the same causes that causes cervical cancer. But now let us look at the age. Which age group is more prone to having these two types of cancers?
Okay. So for breast cancer, usually they pick it up in women age 50, most in patients in the age 50. That is the commonest age. It doesn't mean you can't have cancer at age 40. you can still have cancer, but where they've picked up a lot of patients is age 50. So definitely when you get to age 50, you need to start really taking your breast seriously, out of lack of a better word. Start examining yourself, start going for screening tests. And then when it comes to cervical cancer, it has been found in a lot of patients between the ages of 35 and 40. But it can start, that's the commonest age range, but you can still have it before the age of 35 or even above the age of 40. So the patients, I have seen patients as young as 25 years old with cervical cancer already. So, like I said, if you have early sexual debut, meaning if you start having sex early, around age 12, 13, if you have multiple partners, then you put yourself at risk and then you will get the cervical cancer. So those are the commonest ages. But going for regular checks or examining yourself, it helps to know when something is not right, because you know what is normal, you are familiar with how your normal breast looks like. So when something is wrong with it, you'll be able to pick it up quite early.
Mhm. Okay, so it's more your, what can I call it? Your behavior as well. It also profiles.
Very true. Your lifestyle plays a big role in actually both the cancers. For breast, like I said, even smoking. If you smoke, there's increased risk of breast cancer. So if you choose to not live a healthy lifestyle, it puts you at risk. And also when it comes to cervical cancer, unhealthy lifestyle or unhealthy habits such as smoking can still predispose you to cervical cancer. Also, risky sexual behavior also increases the risk of cervical cancer. And sometimes it's not actually you with the risky sexual behavior, but it's having a partner with a risky sexual behavior who brings all these things home. So because you meet a lot of women and say, no, but I only have one person, I've only dated one person in my life. But if you have a partner that has risky sexual behavior, you can end up getting these conditions. Sometimes maybe you meet a partner who currently does not have risky sexual behavior, but in the previous relationship they've had that, they can bring the baggage along. So, when you meet someone, don't just be excited by the looks and all that and their bank balance. Also ask, about their past, how they've been, get an idea of their sexual behavior, because it can actually predispose you to conditions like cervical cancer.
You are listening to Bold Moves Radio. We are talking about breast and cervical cancer. Doc, quite a number of times we have gotten accustomed to thinking whenever you see someone who shows signs of loss of hair, we tend to, let's say you meet a woman who does not have hair or who has chosen to have a hairstyle where they don't have hair, they are bald. We tend to immediately think they may be suffering from cancer. And I would like to believe it's because that's what we've seen more, and that's how we're socialized by society to think that's how you detect someone with cancer. And most of the times, I myself counted, I've lost loved ones that we never got an opportunity to know they were suffering from cancer, because somehow it has been made to feel like it's a death sentence. So when you are diagnosed, loved ones tend not to say it in the family, not to tell anyone. They suffer alone. They keep it to themselves, thinking they want to spare their loved ones from the pain of knowing they're about to lose their loved ones. Then, are there symptoms that can help one to be able to know when you have a loved one or even yourself that maybe you are having cancer. You need to go get checked up, or anything that can bring in that sign, because I've noticed when they keep quiet and they go through the journey alone, in most cases you find that they're not getting the right medical attention. And it's because we, as loved ones, you are not there to know how you should be able to help this person.
Yeah. Honestly, cancer, early, especially the early stages, they have no signs. They have
Okay.
no signs. At least breast, if you examine yourself, you may feel a lump. But if it's too early, you may not even be able to feel it and can be only picked up on mammogram. So if you don't do regular breast exam, you will not pick up that there's a small lump there, because you won't be feeling any pain or discomfort. You'll still be fine. And then you will go on about your life. And then the minute you start feeling symptoms, most of the time the cancer is far. It is past the early stages. And what are the symptoms that you can find on breast cancer? You can find things such as abnormal discharges, like if you squeeze your breast, there's abnormal fluid coming from your breast. If you feel a lump and the lump mostly feels stuck, maybe to the skin or other structures in the breast, you cannot move. There's this other lump that is commonly that teenagers tend to have, fibroadenoma. The lump moves around a lot and it's rubber. But for the cancer ones, usually doesn't move and gets attached to the other structures in the breast. You may see some skin changes, like that looks like, the skin of an orange. You call it the peel the orange sign, whereby on your breast it looks like, it's the skin of an orange. And then sometimes even your nipple gets pulled, or there may be like discoloration, becomes reddish. Some actually looks like it's a abscess, it looks like it's an abscess on the breast. Sometimes it may actually be cancer. And then for the cervical cancer, most of the time, the patients complain of bleeding, and the bleeding is usually bleeding or discharge, and this discharge usually smells. It usually smells bad. The bleeding mostly they have contact bleeding. So if, let's say, you put a tampon inside, then you just start bleeding. If you put fingers or you have sex, after sex you start bleeding. So that's what patients tend to have. Those are the signs. Like I said, usually when you have those signs, the cancer is already found. So the early stages of the cancers are usually difficult to see with the naked eyes, and you don't feel symptoms most of the time. You don't feel any symptoms, and that is when we want to pick it up. We want to prevent it from happening. We want to detect it early. Once we detect it early, it gives us a wide range of treatment options, like treatment options such as operations. Sometimes if you pick up these cancers early enough, you are able to still keep your womb and continue having kids because you would have removed it quite early. But if you pick it up late, you may not be able to save your womb. Sometimes you're not even able to operate it because it's already far. We have to only use radiation and chemotherapy. I know you asked me about the hair loss. I think it's because most of the time when you have these talks with cancer survivors, we'll see people without hair, and it's not a cancer sign, but it's a side effect of the cancer treatment, because they use medications that is very strong, that it destroys to destroy these abnormal cells that are growing uncontrollably. In the process of trying to kill these abnormal cells, it ends up killing the normal cells. So it kills the hair cells, and then the hair falls off and it has difficulty growing because it interferes with the process of hair growth. So that's what happens. Most of the time, it's just a sign of being on treatment, not necessarily the cancer itself. The symptoms that I just explain now, those are the symptoms of cancer.
Wow. And, you know, that helps us because one goes around. I've noticed lately women, we are free, you know, and bold to be able to put on any hairstyle. And in most cases, you see people looking at you, wondering what's going on. And your explanation really assists us. And I see a question here. I know you did touch on it, but a question here asking, how long can one go with these two types of cancers without them being detected?
It can go up to 10 years, you know. If you don't go for screening, you can go for 10 years with no symptoms. And then start after 10 years. They differ in different people. Some are rapidly progressive, so you can even start feeling the symptoms in 5 years. Some it can go as far as 10 years without you feeling anything. And then after 10 years, that's when you start having the symptoms. So it differs in different people, but it can go that long. You can spend 10 years with no symptoms or whatnot, and then then you have the symptoms of cervical cancer or the breast cancer. So, but if that's why it's important to do the pap smears and the breast exams, not because you're not feeling well. Go there for a checkup while you are still well, because you may just be well, but with the early cancer. And we've seen that happen. And most of the time, the outcome is quite good if you pick it up that early.
Thank you. And that's why we appreciate professionals like yourself bringing in awareness, because it helps us to know what is it that we ought to do. And as you always say, early detection, it's better because you are able to manage the condition whilst it's still time. Thank you very much, Dr. Tshegofatso. And now, as we draw close to the end of our conversation, I wish for us to now look at what to do when now I have examined myself and I realize that I may be at a risk of one of these cancers. Who should I contact in terms of medical practitioners? Where do I go? Because in most cases, you find that that's where we start at other places because we do not know which specialist to consult, and you take long, and along the way you hear someone saying, no, I've seen a lot of all doctors, I'm no longer going. I'm no longer interested in seeing any medical practitioner. So where do one start when you have either breast cancer or cervical cancer, or is it the same specialist who I should consult?
Okay, so when it comes to the levels of care in the health system, so if you are not sure of what you're having, whether it's cancer or it's whatnot, because sometimes you may be going feeling a lump and it's not really cancer and whatnot, you can go through the primary health system, which is your local clinic or your private nurse, and then they will refer you appropriately to either a general practitioner or a specialist. They will actually refer you directly to a specialist. For cervical cancers, they will refer to gynecologists, and for breast, they will refer you to a general surgeon. So let's say, for example, if you have funds, they allow, and you have picked up a lump and you are not sure where to go. For the lump, for breast, people who deal with breast, the breast specialist is general surgeons. And then people who specialize with the womb and everything to do with the womb and cervical cancer is gynecologists. But people in the whole level, all the levels of care in the health system should be able to pick up this and send you to the relevant people. So general practitioners should be able to pick up the private nurses or the public sector nurses should be able to pick up to say, you have a lump, let me send you to a general surgeon clinic. You have an abnormal pap smear, and then you must send it to a gynecologist. But what I would like to say is that I want to go back to prevention. There are different levels of prevention. We have primary prevention, which is you are trying to prevent diseases from occurring. So by practicing good sexual behavior, choosing a good lifestyle, such as not smoking, exercising, eating well, and also if you know you have family histories of things like breast cancer, you do regular checkups. So that is primary prevention. And then we have secondary prevention, whereby now it's the early detection part. Now you have the disease, but you're picking it up early. You don't want it to spread. So you can still prevent it from getting worse, you know. So that is the level of prevention. With me saying that, I'm just trying to say that do not be discouraged when you pick up that you have cancer, because now you've just moved in a different level of prevention. You can still prevent the worst from happening. So if they find that your cancer is advanced, we go into tertiary level of prevention, which is preventing you from the disease killing you quicker than it was supposed to, you know. So we prevent early deaths, we prevent you living with like very uncomfortable, because if we don't do anything about this cancer, even though it's advanced, then you may start bleeding every single day of your life, requiring blood transfusion. You may end up dying earlier. But if you start going for if you go for checkup, they pick up that you have the cancer, even though it's advanced, there is still treatment that they can give to prevent the worst from happening, like losing all your blood, you dying quicker. You can be spared 5 to 10 years of your life. You can still have extra days of life if you make sure that you involve yourself and adhere to a treatment, go for your checkups, and remain positive. I always tell my patients that you have to be stronger than the cancers. Cancer is there to destroy, but you have the brains, you have the heart, you are still alive, you are still breathing, you can still fight it. You have to be positive, believe in your treatment. I know people have tendencies of, when you start developing things, then we want to go and you going for endless prayers, and you're not going for checkups. I think when you go for prayers, get prayer, so that wherever you're going, God must give you a doctor that will be able to pick up, that will be able to do appropriate tests and send you where it's appropriate. That's the prayer that we should be having. Sometimes people go there when they see symptoms, they go for prayers, they feel like, no, this pastor, I am not getting healed. Maybe I must try the traditional way. And they try everywhere else. And the last place is where? The hospital. And when you get there, you are already advanced and you start feeling like, no, these ones are not helping me. Doctors are there to help you, to prevent the diseases from getting worse, and also to assist with coping with the symptoms and living longer. So that's why we are there. So we do acknowledge that there are different forms of healing, but do not delay seeking help, also medical help, because you're going elsewhere. We can pick up medical conditions and still pray for them, while you are in a hospital facility, or when you're in a medical facility, you can still come and get prayed for, but do not delay, getting help. Pray for your health providers as well, your doctors and nurses, so that they can have the wisdom to see and manage you properly.
That's very true, and it takes me back to what I said initially, to say most of the time our loved ones, once they're diagnosed with cancer, they keep quiet, and it's because of the fear to come through for medical attention. I do not know what is there, but maybe you may share some light with us in terms of the treatment. Why do you think as society we are so fearful of the cancer treatment?
So I'm not gonna lie, even when I see patients, I'm honest about cancer treatment. Cancer treatment is not easy. It requires frequent visits to the hospital, and some of them, the treatment also have like really painful or really bad side effects. Like, for example, losing your hair and all that, always feeling tired. Some treatments actually, when you start, you're feeling well, but during the treatment period, you actually feel really sick. Some people may say, it's better just leave me alone. And if I die, I die because I can't handle that treatment. But it's a period of discomfort, and then afterwards, life starts getting better. So, cancer is not really the end. It just requires you to fight so that you postpone the end. I don't know if I'm making sense, but it's for you to postpone the end. The end will come sooner if you don't do anything about it. So cancer treatment is intense, and I understand why people are fearful. That's why the WHO is emphasizing this year, don't face cancer alone. So when a family member comes back and say, I've got cancer, it means they need support. Sometimes you find that people want to say, no, I can't come for the appointment because I have to look after my child's kids or my daughter's kids. No, I can't come because I can't miss work. So once you have cancer, you need to be able to be in a position where you can disclose and say, I have cancer, so that you get support. People can assist you so that you can be able to go to health facilities to get care. They can also assist you to be able to accept, when you talk about it, when people are there to motivate you, keep you positive, you are able to conquer it. So it's a disease that requires support. That's why there are support groups out there to assist with cancer. So I always tell patients that if you want to bring someone in so that I can explain to them this cancer so that they can be able to support you better, please bring them in, because it's a key element, it's an important thing that is required when you are undergoing this journey. And like I said, the treatment usually is long. It's long, frequent, and comfortable. So it requires you to remain positive and to have enough support.
And that's why we appreciate people like yourselves, because I would like to believe this afternoon, Prudent Women, as we listen to Dr. Tshegofatso, it has helped us to understand what this thing is all about. What you know, and that which has got a name, you are able to know that you can subject it under the name of Jesus, because it has got a name and you know how to manage it. And that's why it's very important for us to be empowered so that we are able to take intentional decisions. Because when you do not know, you may find yourself following suit to those who did not disclose to their loved ones. And as she says, it's lengthy, frequent visits. If you have not declared to your family, obviously you are bound to default, because they will start asking, why are you visiting the doctor this often? And you may have to explain why. So then the best thing is for you now not to go, because you don't want to disclose. But this afternoon, she has empowered us to understand what these cancers are all about. What is it that we can do to be able to minimize the risk of us suffering from these cancers? And if it happens, how can we make sure that we manage it effectively by detecting it early? And how do we make sure that we bring along all our loved ones for support? Because it's something that you need support to be able to beat. And in this way, as Prudent Woman, we would like to say thank you for listening to us. Dr. Tshegofatso, thank you for bringing in this awareness. We can never thank you enough for coming through and educating us as women to become prudent about our health, for we want to take intentional decisions. Gone are the days where you go to the doctor because you are not feeling well. But we now understand that medical practitioners are there to be able to help us, to check us and say, you are looking good, all is well, than for us to go there and say, what can you tell me, what is causing this sickness? So as prudent women, let us look after our health, let us look after our loved ones, and make sure that their quality of life wealth, it's good. Thank you, Doc. As you bid farewell to our listeners and our viewers, I'd like to invite you. Anything that you like to say that we did not touch, which you know is very important for us as women, even in this month of October, and as well share your contacts for those who would like to come forth and consult with you even outside this conversation.
Okay. There are three things that I would like to emphasize on. The first one is that go check if your girls got their HPV vaccine. Check if they've gotten the HPV vaccine. Secondly, please be familiar with your boobs. Examine your breast to check if there are any changes. Do it regularly. When you're bathing there in the shower, just do routine breast examination. Do your pap smears. It's quite an exam that you just need to do, the test that you need to do. It is just once a year. You just do once a year and you get to know your cervical status. And then the last but not least, you can fight cancer. You can fight cancer, detect it early, remain positive, and fight it. And if you've got a lump or you're not sure whether you need to do cervical cancer screening or not, you can always find me at Gynifight. Gynifight practice is my practice where you can come for examination. We do comprehensive examination. We believe in thorough comprehensive examination to detect illnesses or detect things that you may not be even thinking about or be worried about, because we believe in early detection. You can contact us on 071 200 3933. You can call or you can WhatsApp to make an appointment, or even inquire. If you have a question, you can drop it there and then we'll get back to you. We are also located in Mukopane and Lipalale. We are hoping to come to Polokwane soon. So that we can offer you our services.
Thank you very much, Doc. And maybe I must say this, what excites me is that you are a woman, and in most cases, guys are men. And I came across one gentleman, a doctor, who was addressing us as women. And he said in his opening statement, he said, what I'm going to tell you, you know it better than myself because I don't have a womb. So what I like about you, you are a woman. So when I come through and consult with you, when I tell you that 1, 2, 3, you understand it better because you are just like myself. So we appreciate professionals like yourself. Thank you very much. May the Lord continue to bless you. Thank you to all of you who were part of this conversation. I trust that we have learned, and of course, we will extend that hand. We will not let our loved ones suffer breast cancer alone, even as the theme of this year says. And thank you for being part of this conversation. Of course, it will not be a conversation without your involvement, your questions, and your comments as we go through the conversation. And to our technical team, DJ Messi, thank you very much for bringing us through. And our executive producer, Pastor Strike Mangani, who would like to say thank you. And to all of you who have not yet subscribed to Bold Moves Radio, please go ahead at 5:30 this afternoon. We've got our favorite pastor, Pastor Frida Matebula, with the Living Word outreach program. She will be talking about culture versus Christianity. And you are invited at 5:30, the very same platform. On Tuesday, we've got the pair with the story, that is the African experience. And on Fridays at 6 o'clock, we have got the Kingdom Impact. Thank you very much. As for Prudent Woman, we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Have a blessed and a wonderful week ahead, even as we continue and create that awareness against these cancers. What we know, we can conquer. Have a blessed afternoon.
24/7. 24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Africa, nakupenda